I hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving break. We're back here for Jacket Sports Weekly. As always, Logan Lepiscopo, Seth Adams. He's the guy. We got all your Jacket Sports.
We got all of them.
And let's just say women's and men's basketball is really all we've got going on here at Waynesburg. Wrestling had a long time off. Indoor track and field, that's about to start off. So let's jump in. Women's basketball, tough loss to Westminster, 64-52. Talk a little bit about that game and what kind of transpired for the ladies.
Yeah, the women have just been struggling a little bit lately, but they're still improving. They're still going up, especially from last year. It's a completely different team from last year. But the one part that they are really struggling with is that third quarter. And I'm just going to we're going to get more into it later with Joey. But in that third quarter, they were outscored 21-12. And it kind of just cements the rest of the game because you only got a quarter to bounce back, really. So that third quarter has really been the death, I'd say, of this team. And it's just been a little upsetting. But it is not as bad as it seems.
It isn't. And I know 0-5, obviously everybody looks at that on paper, they're like, that's a really bad start. But if you look at where the ladies team was last year, they've improved a lot. A lot of the games have been closer at the beginning of this season. I think the three-point shooting also was a tough task for the ladies in that Westminster game. They shot 7 for 26.
Yeah.
Not the greatest day shooting from behind that three-point arc, but as Seth mentioned, Joey Chirillo will be on with us to talk a little bit more in depth about that game and the next game coming up, which is against Washington and Jefferson. It's part of a doubleheader with the men's team. The men's team, they suffered a crucial, heartbreaking, devastating, any other word you want to throw under the book for heartbreaking, 67-66 loss in overtime to Westminster.
Yeah, they're fine. You know, it's something you kind of just, you take it, you're like, okay, whatever, throw it away. We're good. It's over. It happened. You know, like the way they lost is not a 5-second violation, and then they got the ball back and scored game-winning three, Westminster, and won 67-66. So it's really unfortunate events that took place, I guess. But Jalen Davis, he had 17 points. He led the Jackets. Baker had 13. So it was a really low-scoring game for the Jackets as they only scored 66, and that's with overtime. Usually they put up 70, 80 points. So it kind of lacked a little bit in that, especially in the Westminster game. But they'll be fine. Big W&J this week. Big rival game this week. They're going to shake it off at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse. It's going to be electric, as it always is. And I'm sure they'll be fine.
And as you can see, I'm not wearing red. Seth is not wearing red.
It's like a blue-green.
If you're watching this right now and you're wearing red, I demand you to go and change right now because it's rivalry week. Okay? Pause the show, go change, come right back.
Go change.
They'll finish off the doubleheader against the Presidents, 7:30 tip-off. It's going to be a great game, and you can find all the live coverage with us on Lucent. If you go on the YouTube page, or rather the Waynesburg Athletic website, scroll down, find the Washington Jefferson game, just click on that Woosin live stream, take you right to the game. We'll have our announcers, full camera production. You definitely won't want to miss that one. Our other winter sports currently going on, we have wrestling coming up. They've had a long time off, but they are traveling this weekend to their next Open.
Yeah, the Storm Open, which will be December 3rd, which is actually a Sunday. And they're going to Lake Erie College. Lake Erie College hosts it. And, yeah, they're going to host it, and they're going to be there.
Yeah, we tried, I promise you. Seth and I looked far and wide to figure out who else is wrestling at this Open.
Waynesburg's going to be there.
Waynesburg and Lake Erie College will be there. That's as much as we can tell you right now. But that will be coming up. They've had roughly 10 days off now. So we'll see what they're able to do. Probably some tough competition once again.
Yeah.
And then just to close things out, our final winter sport game ready to get underway. Indoor track and field. The ladies and the men's indoor track and field teams will be traveling to Youngstown State University for their first meet of the year. That's going to do it for Seth and I here on the opening segment, but we'll be right back with Joey Chirillo to talk about women's basketball.
You're watching WCTV, where we aim to bring you the best local coverage of what you care about most. Everything from local businesses to hometown sports and the latest weather. We're keeping up to date with what you need to know about issues that affect our campus and our community. We're telling the stories that matter, celebrating our past, our future, and our potential. So tune in for all the latest buzz right here on WCTV Channel 14, Waynesburg.
Welcome in for our first guest here on Jacket Sports Weekly. As mentioned, we're talking about women's basketball. Still your host, Seth and Logan. We're now joined by Joey Chirillo to talk about that women's basketball team. Last time out, they faced off against Westminster, and similar to the previous games, it was one bad quarter that cost the ladies.
Yeah, and that one bad quarter is that third quarter for the Lady Jays here. I can't really explain why this third quarter team cannot do it, and they're not a third quarter team. They are the opposite of that. In fact, Westminster actually, they were led in the third quarter with points, but it wasn't that many points. I believe it was 18-17 in the difference of points there. But they still led there, but that's the only really positive I could see out of this. This team has been able to do somewhat well, but they're not as well as they are in the paint. In the paint against Westminster, Westminster has 38 points, and Waynesburg only had 22. In turnovers, looking at turnovers, Westminster had 12, Waynesburg having 2. And at the three-point line, it's definitely not pretty against Westminster. They were 26.9% in the shooting there at the three-point line. And it's just not pretty for them. They have been doing well, but they're not as well as their competitors here in all of these games and all the stats majority of the time. So I don't know what it is with this team. I think the third quarter they need to just expand on, get a little bit better in that momentum, and hopefully they will be able to continue what they did in Westminster, leading them in that third quarter with points, and hopefully they can continue that in the fourth quarter, getting a win at some point this season.
Yeah, that third quarter has been not so great. They were 25-23 at half, and then at the end of the third, it was 46-35, West Mini up, and that hurts. But why? What do you think is the main issue that this third quarter? Is it like the halftime? Are they not adjusting at halftime? Are they getting figured out? Why are they struggling like this?
I think that it's they do really well in that first half. They go in to halftime. They're feeling good. They're not far behind, or maybe they're even leading at points in the halftime. But then they come back, and I think they just had too much time to rest. I think there was a little too much time that they spent looking over logistics, looking over the rest of the game scheme and not the third quarter scheme. The team here having many freshmen at the top. Actually, their two top players in minutes-wise are two freshmen. Mia Hankins at 142 minutes on the season and Kara McFadden at 123 minutes on the season. And then down to third place is 97 minutes. It's a big drop there. So you have two freshmen basically leading this team so far this season. So maybe that's something you got to look at, something maybe you got to pinpoint. Maybe it's the freshmen, maybe it's the lack of seniors and lack of leadership there, but it's something that you want to see happen and you want to see them get better at. But 5 games in, we haven't really seen much from this team in the third quarter. We hope to see that advance in Dub J this week and then in more pack play later.
And you just mentioned W&J up next. The ladies had a nice week off. Got to go home for Thanksgiving, had some nice food, family, friends, all the good stuff that comes with the Thanksgiving break. But they've got to come back now to play the best team in the women's side of basketball in the Washington Jefferson Presidents. How can the ladies keep this game close? I don't want to say outright try and win this game because we know the 0-5 record compared to W&J, preseason #1, looking to try and repeat things. How can they try and keep this game close?
Well, I think what we can do as fans is to not wear red. A lot of us here, we're not wearing red. We're making sure we're keeping out of that, keeping our Lady Jays in this game as much as we can, superstition or not. But this team, I think they just really need to focus on not shooting as many threes. They're doing good in the threes. They're getting better. Their game against Bethany, they were 50% at the three-point line, which is the best they've had this season, 15 for 30. But if you're going to keep doing those threes, you need to get better accuracy, or you need to move down into paint, move more into jump shots, move more into those layups, getting the ball back on turnovers, getting the ball in assists, getting those rebounds. That's really going to help this team. They haven't been able to do that so far. They've lost a lot of points to the turnovers and a lot of points to the fast break. With Bethany, they lost 38 points to the fast break and 26 to turnovers. And the same with Westminster, 12 in turnovers, 12 with fast breaks. So I think that's where they need to really get on their defensive side. The offensive is getting there, and I think they'll continue with it. But I think the defense really needs to step up in this WJ game, and I think they'll keep it close, and I could see them making an upset here.
Oh, All right. Well, we talked about a lot of the rotation and how it a little bit struggled or was a little weird at the beginning. Has it gotten better over these last couple of games?
I think the rotation has gotten a lot better. One player on, at least that I was shocked about when I was looking at minutes. In the first 2 games, she wasn't in a lot. Her rotation was not really seen, but she's number 5 in minutes on this team so far. Maddie Dayton is on here with 72 minutes. So she's normally a bench player. She's not normally starting. She's coming off the bench late into that first quarter, sometimes early into the second, and she's been producing really well. She's been doing well for this team. 72 minutes, as I said. Number 3, Marley Wolf at 97 minutes, and Callista Friday at 79 minutes. They're doing well. They're keeping that rotation coming through. They're mainly keeping the 2 freshmen that I mentioned, Mia Hankins and Carla McFadden on there. Karen McFadden, my bad. And they're keeping them on there, and they're rotating those other sources and players that they got to hopefully use that offensive power. And I think they do have this offensive power, but I think they need to find that defensive power a little bit in some of these players. Maybe taking Mia off a little bit more, maybe Kara herself, seeing what they can do defensively, maybe just to shake things up, see if maybe the rotation they're currently doing is why they're 0-2 or 0-5. So we'll see what happens. I think they could fix this rotation. If they can, it'll help them. If they can't, maybe it won't. I don't know.
And one final question for you. We talked about W&J coming up next. They've got a 3-game homestand. You have W&J, you have St. Vincent, and you have Geneva. Geneva, in previous years, you played pretty well. St. Vincent and W&J hasn't gone your way. How can the ladies take advantage of this 3-game home stretch that they have?
Well,
we all know the Rudy rocks.
Yeah, Rudy does
Rudy
rock,
rocks.
and I think Rudy needs to rock as much as it has ever before. I think a lot of us here at Waynesburg and a lot of people in the town need to show up, come up, get there, be there to support your Lady Jays on the court. I think that this team can do it, and I believe in them. I really do. And I think St. Vincent's and WJ are going to be harder games, but at least maybe get a Geneva win. Get that pack win under your belt. Get a home win under your belt. Get your first win of the season, and maybe that'll bring more fans out, bring more students out, bring more people, and it'll keep building from there.
Well, you'll be there. You'll be there. I'll be there. And you should be there for the Lady Jays tipping off against the Washington Jefferson President. But don't go anywhere. We've got Michael McKenzie with the men's side of basketball.
Piracy is a crime. If you see someone downloading copyrighted material without paying for it, then you should inform the authorities immediately. If you download any copyrighted material from the internet without paying for it, then you should go to jail.
Welcome back to Jacket Sports Weekly. We got Mike McKenzie. We had a very rough men's basketball game. So we're going to talk about it and just talk about the sports team in general. So Mike, thanks for joining us today. Give us the rundown.
So just not a good end to the game. Logan, you were on the call for it, so you had the first-hand experience, but just not how you wanted to end the game if you're Waynesburg. You got a prime opportunity to take a road win early in conference play, 4-1 to start the season potentially, 2-0 potentially in conference play to start the year. Heading into this game on Wednesday against W&J, that would have been a huge win for the Waynesburg men, but just unfortunately not able to pull it out. They had a 6-point lead with a minute and a half to go. Westminster hits a couple of threes. Waynesburg doesn't score at the end of regulation. You head to overtime. You have a 1-point lead with 5 seconds left on the clock and the basketball. They take the 5-second violation, then the 3-pointer to win the game for Westminster. Actually, they had a 2-point lead, my mistake. But nonetheless, the 3-pointer by Westminster wins the game at the end of overtime. It's just a gut-wrenching loss if you're Waynesburg, but right now they got to be focused. They've had a week to kind of get over that, make some improvements in their late game management, and head into this important game against W&J on their home court.
So the sequence for the end of the game, just to make this a little bit more gut-wrenching for everybody. Minute and a half, Waynesburg gets a defensive rebound, up by 4, right? They get that possession, go down, miss a shot, offensive rebound. Miss a 3, offensive rebound. Okay, a lot of times off the clock. You shoot another layup, get the offensive rebound. Shot clock is now off. And the men end up losing by 1 in that overtime period. I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I'm kind of just putting it in the past. We're moving on to W&J, and that's a big opponent. You're currently tied for second with the Presidents. It's a huge rivalry. How can Waynesburg try and get this leg up on the Presidents?
It's going to come down to how they handle the pressure. WJ is going to want to speed things up, high pace of play, full court pressures, traps at half court. They're going to try to speed Waynesburg up. If Waynesburg can take care of the basketball, limit turnovers, which has been a bit of an issue in recent games, if they can take care of the basketball, get over half court quickly, and force W&J to have to defend 25 seconds of the 30-second shot clock, make them play a lot of defense. If they can stay patient on offense, as long as holding on to the basketball, good things are going to happen for this Waynesburg team. They got to get the ball into the paint, though, at a consistent rate. They've only been outscored in the paint twice this season. That loss at the Bill Suddick Holiday Tournament to Eastern and the game against Westminster, they were outscored 36-30 in the paint. If they can get the ball inside, patience on offense, force W&J to defend 80-90% of that shot clock, and don't turn the ball over, they're going to be in a really good spot to beat the Presidents on Wednesday.
Back to the Westminster game. Was there any positives or things that this team has gotten better at over this game, and have they done anything at all that was a highlight that is just something to look forward to?
There's things positively you can take away from this game. The thing I look at the most is free throw shooting. We've talked about it twice that Waynesburg had been abysmal from the free throw line in every game before Westminster. They shot 75% from the line against Westminster. That's right around the average where you want to be over a season. Obviously, it's only one game. You might want to shoot better than 75% from the line in a single game. But considering they had been shooting 55% from the line in their previous 4, that's definitely a positive you can take away from Waynesburg. They do a lot of free throw shooting in practice. Coach Vicina says that they try to spend 8 to 12 minutes every single practice on free throw shooting. So it was something that you felt was going to manifest itself at some point. It seems that it did against Westminster. The question is, will it continue to do so against W&J and moving forward for the rest of the season? And the other thing is their bench points. They have a lot of depth on this team. They outscored Westminster 27-11 in bench points. That's something that can carry over the rest of the season. The depth of this team, they got 8 to 10 guys that are playing double-digit minutes a game. Whether you want to look at that positively or negatively in terms of, maybe they don't have a consistent rotation, I'm going to choose to look at it positively because you got a lot of guys. You can stay fresh, feature a lot of guys in there, make things more difficult for W&J and any other conference opponent moving forward. And I think that that's going to be something that moving forward for Waynesburg is going to help them win more games this season than they did last year.
And you mentioned the kind of 8 to 10 guys that consistently play for Waynesburg. In that Westminster game, we saw a couple of the starters not get their typical minutes, such as the new transfers, PJ Suggs, Jordan McLoyd. Both of them kind of saw a decrease in minutes, whereas Jake Scheidt, Ryan Fellberg, some returning guys, got to see an uptick in minutes. What do you expect for W&J? Do you expect that to still be sprinkled in with PJ and Jordan getting the start, or do you think maybe we might see a different starting lineup than we've seen the previous games?
I think PJ and Jordan are probably going to get the start. They have been very reliable guys all season, and you mentioned that they didn't play necessarily at the end of that Westminster game, didn't get a lot of run late second half and overtime. I think that with the depth that this team has and Coach Fusina, they don't have to go to the same 5 or 6 guys in the late stages of a game every single time they're in a close game like Westminster. They have the freedom to kind of see how things go. If these couple guys are playing better than the starters are having a bit of an off night, you have the freedom to put in a couple of your bench guys like Jake Scheidt, who went 2 for 2 from three-point range, and put them in late stages of a game, because basketball is a game of runs, and you cannot necessarily, with the depth that Waynesburg has, ignore some guys coming off the bench and playing better than starters. And I think that may have been what Coach Fusina saw against Westminster. Guys like Scheidt were playing better off the bench than maybe some of the starters like Suggs or McLoyd. So let's put Scheidt in there at the end of the game, see if he can continue to shoot the ball well and play good basketball. And I think Coach Fusina thought that was what was going to happen.
So the score was really low in this game for Waynesburg. Usually they've had like 70, 80-point games. Why is it that the score was so low? Were they just like not making as many shots? Were they just not getting the opportunity to? What was it there?
It was the second straight game that they shot 6 of 13 from three-point range. That's a 46% clip. That's right where you want to be for where Waynesburg's offensive philosophy is in terms of inside out. Get the ball in, then occasionally set up the catch and shoot for your guys like McLoyd and Scheidt. This game, though, they did not well from two-point range. They shot 36% from inside the arc. That's not where you want to be for a team that wants to dominate in the paint, get to the free throw line and get a lot of easy layups for their big height guys like Anton Baker, PJ Suggs, and Jalen Davis. You can't shoot 36% from 2 and expect to put up another 70, 80 points like you have been all season. They did almost put up 70, but they needed overtime to kind of help boost that final team score for Waynesburg. So shooting percentage from 2, in my opinion, was really what hampered this team from being able to put up the 70 and 80 points we had become accustomed to seeing this early in the season.
And one final question for you, Michael. You have this big 3-game homestand coming up for Waynesburg. You're currently tied with Washington and Jefferson, and then you have to play St. Vincent and Geneva, the 2 undefeated teams at the top of the conference. How do you make the most of this homestand?
I think that if Waynesburg comes away with 2 wins out of these 3 games, they got to be feeling phenomenal heading into the latter part of the schedule, heading into winter break, and then to the start of January, which is the bigger part of the season for Waynesburg. But in my opinion, it's going to be being able to utilize home court advantage. You don't have to get on a bus and travel a long way. You get to play at the Rudy Marisa Fieldhouse. You're going to have all the fans, or at least 90% of them, rooting for you in a gym that can get really loud when Waynesburg's playing really good basketball. You got to utilize the home court advantage. Specifically against WNJ, though, you got to be able to utilize it in a positive manner. You can't let things get to you too much and then you're starting to move a little too fast, play with a little too much pace, and it gets careless a little bit in terms of maybe turning the ball over or shot selection, which can be spotty at times for this team already. They have to be able to control their emotions, utilize the home court advantage in a positive manner, and play the style of basketball that got them 3 wins out of their first 5 games to start the season.
Well, great stuff, Mike. Got big W&J coming up, and you better not wear red this week or you're done. But you should definitely show up. We got a doubleheader coming up, so make sure you be there. But we got Jordan McLoyd coming on with us. Logan and I are going to do an interview with him, so don't go anywhere.
Have you ever been to the Everly Library? If not, you should, because it's great. They have books of all different genres: history, biography, fiction. Try The Evolution of Life, Life of Pi, or Jurassic Park. So what if books aren't your thing? Try movies like Frozen, or TV shows like Lost. Books and DVDs aren't the only thing though. Take a trip to the 2nd floor. Welcome to the Writing Center. These tutors will tell you everything you need to know about writing a paper, and they'll help revise your essays. Now let's head back down. Behold, the Knox Learning Center. Need to print something out 5 minutes before your next class because you procrastinated? No problem. You can also print off pictures of dogs. Because, well, you can. So grab your homework, laptop, and textbook, and study diligently. Bring your lunch too. Actually, you can't. That's illegal. Now you know the Everly Library. Stop by anytime. Seriously, it's open all week.
Welcome in for our final segment here on Jacket Sports Weekly. Still Seth and I, and as mentioned, it's all hoops. We talked about men's, we talked about the women's team. Now we're sat down with one of the athletes that just transferred into Waynesburg, Mr. Jordan McLoyd. Thank you very much for joining us here today. And my first question to ask is, why the move to Waynesburg from Randolph?
Big coaching staff. They recruited me when I came here, when I hit the transfer portal. It was a different environment moving to Pennsylvania. I've never lived up north before, so it's going to be a big move for me. I thought the community was great. The teammates were great. When I committed, they were really, really big on the impact of me coming here. So I give credit for the coaching staff and the teammates.
Sweet, yeah. So you obviously come to Waynesburg now. Big transfer, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So what do you hope to bring Waynesburg? I know we started a little bit. I know we're a little bit into the season, but what do you hope to bring, and are you happy with what you've done so far?
The main goal is to win a championship. Obviously, we want a PAC championship. I know that's a huge goal for us, but I know we can get it done with the athletes we have on our team. We have a good group of guys, that want to win. So first and foremost, they want to win. They practice hard, and we play hard. So if we all come together and buy in as a collect group, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And Seth mentioned, the new team, brand new environment. You mentioned the coaching staff, but How has it been getting kind of put into a brand new system? You spent 3 years at Randolph, now you come in here. What's it like having to basically start fresh and learn a whole new team?
Yeah, it can be a big adjustment. For me, it was a big adjustment coming in here just for academics-wise. Athletics, it was easy. I think the coaching staff did a great job of putting us in the right spots as a group. But for me, it was huge. I never came to Pennsylvania before. I've never lived here before. Coming to Waynesburg, I think my teammates did a really good job of welcoming me in, showing me the environment, showing me everything around, and I liked it so far.
So it seems like you guys have been clicking a lot, like having some fun. So do you guys do a lot of stuff off the court too that makes it maybe a better chemistry on the court? You guys do like a lot of stuff outside, and have they been really welcoming for you?
Yeah, when we first got here, we all went out to eat. We all hung out together. We all make jokes. We're a big family. I feel like we're gonna be in here. We're mostly together by ourselves. We're here with our family more than our family. So I think it'll be great for us. We're still connecting with each other. We're still learning each other. But I think it's coming along very well.
And obviously now being a part of this team, they didn't have the greatest success in last year's season. So coming into the season, obviously 3-2 start now. You guys saw the preseason polls, ranked 9th out of the 11 teams. What was your reaction coming in and just your teammates' reactions to having Waynesburg ranked 9 out of the 11 teams in the conference?
Yeah, I think that added fuel to the fire, coming in 9th. I think we got a chip on our shoulder. I think every game matters. Every game is important, and we just have to show it on the court. So,
yeah. So, like you said, we talked about your transfer, or whatever. What are some of the struggles that you've had from a transfer's perspective? So, new people. I know they were very welcoming, but were there anything else that you were like a little uneasy with, and how did you overcome those struggles?
So Randolph was a very small school, so you're seeing the same faces over and over. About 600 people, 600 students that go to the school. So coming here, it's about, I want to say 2,000. So it's a bigger environment, but there's more opportunities to be here. So I think it's been very welcoming. The coaching staff's definitely helped. The teammates definitely helped with me being here and adjusting. But I think the biggest thing adjusting here was the style of play. It's real different than playing in the ODAC. It can be a lot, playing slow pace. I'm normally to play fast pace, up-tempo pace. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's been all good. Okay. Yeah.
So you get your first taste of W&J, the rivalry. I'm sure it's been talked about by everybody. What does that mean to you? You just transferred in. You're not used to what this really means behind it, but what have none of us are wearing red up here. We know what week it is. What is it like preparing for this week? Is there anything extra you feel like you guys go through in preparation for it, or is it just treated like any other game?
I think we treat it like any other game. It's still a big game. It's still a conference game it's a must-win game, and we're playing at home in front of our crowd, so it'll give us a little boost, a little energy to go out there and fight and have more of a bit of an energy spark than we were in playing against opponents that we weren't playing against in home. So I think that would definitely help. W&J, they're a really good team, very athletic, just like us. I think if we come in and have energy, play the right way, play for each other, we'll be fine.
Yeah, and like we said, this is a big rival game. It's going to be awesome, I'm telling you. It's going to be a great game. The atmosphere is electric. It is super fun to go. And it's seeming like we're having a lot more success this year. So what's causing this type of confidence you guys are having? It seems like you're out there and you're just having fun. Why?
I just definitely think it's the people that's been brought into this team. We all know the common goal that we want. We all want to win. We all want a championship. And it's going to take everybody. It's not going to take one person. It's going to take the 20th man on the bench. So I try to instill that to our guys, to our freshmen, to our underclassmen, to be better every day, work every day. No matter if we lose a game, if we win a game, we always have to have the same mindset and stay even keeled.
So we talked about W&J, obviously. That's the next game coming up. But you have 2 other really big games coming up here at home. You got Geneva and St. Vincent coming up. You know how talented the 3 teams are you're about to face. How do you guys game plan for that? I know I talked about it. You said treat it like any other game, but with the way you guys were ranked, the way the season's been going, do you feel any added pressure maybe to just win at home?
There is a bit of pressure, I want to say, just because we want to win for the fans. We want to win for this community at Waynesburg. It's a big environment. If we win for this community, we know they're going to show the support that we want. And when we come in and we play and we don't have energy, we know that the fans don't like that. They're upset about that. So, yeah, it can be a little added motivation, but I think if we treat it like any other game, go out there and play the right way, play for each other, I think we'll come out on top.
Well, Jordan, we really appreciate you coming in, talking to us, giving a little insight about the team. Good luck against WJ. Good luck the rest of the season. That's going to do it for this episode of Jacket Sports Weekly. Thank you for tuning in. And make sure you come back every week for Jackets content.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.